Right, welcome back everybody. Today I'm with Alex. There we go, there you are.
Hi guys.
And we are going to be stripping, assessing and hopefully rebuilding that gearbox which came out of the Paul Smith Mini that you watched us take out in the last episode. So yeah, we'll get stuck into it. But I brought my favourite tool with me as well, just in case. Right, so we've stripped the diff off, and what we've found is the pin is already a hardened diff pin, which it's like it's bent and fractured, and we think that the roll pin, which holds,
So if you look through in here,
that side
down there, you can see just the remnants of the roll pin.
Yeah, just about. So I think the roll pin's failed, which meant that pin has gone whoopsie daisy, got caught on the diff case. It's marred up a few things, but it's going to be repairable.
Just a little bit of fettling, it should be
Bit of fettling, yeah. Yeah, we'll get it stripped down, get it cleaned up, get it rebuilt.
The diff pin hit it, you can see the dent.
Yeah, you can see the dent where that diff pin's gone, and it's that big gouge on there, but it's, it'll be repairable, I'm sure. Clean it up and yeah, we'll be able to reuse that. What did we find with the second gear as well? So the owner of the gearbox said that he had trouble getting into second gear.
It was when it was cold, so they're looking at the synchro teeth. There's not a lot of wear on them, so I'm quite happy to reuse that gear, but it's probably the bolt ring that's worn, but we'll find out when we get it out. Yeah. It's pretty loose on there, so it's not slowing the gear down enough when it's cold. So the bolt rings, as they know, are like a brake to allow everything to line up.
That's it. So yeah, it's probably the most heavily used gear into second gear.
It's one that always wears, and usually they start being crunchy cold and then start jumping out of gear.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Okay, we'll carry on. Okay, so what we've done up to now is we've taken the speedo drive housing off. So that's nice and easy, just a ring of bolts. What else have we done?
Differential out.
Yep.
And we've knocked over all the lock tabs, so none of the lock tabs are locking anything out anymore.
One on there and one on that one.
We've removed the bell cranks, if you look inside here, so it's no longer engaged into the bell crank in the back, so we can lock it in 2 gears at once.
So to lock it in 2 gears, you just flick over.
So we've got it. So we're locked into 1st gear and 3rd gear.
Yep.
Different people do different things, it's subjective.
So you've got to do that so we can lock the shafts, so we can undo that big nut. Is that right?
That big nut, and also the nut on this side.
And then on that side as well.
That allows us to start looking at taking it apart.
Yeah.
And we'll just loosen out the oil pickup, which on this one is not a central oil pickup yet, but it will be.
So there are 2 bolts on the back of the gearbox there, isn't it, that hold this pickup pipe in. And I've made the mistake once of actually loosening those 2 off, thinking it was something else, and yeah. So don't undo those 2 bolts on the back of the gearbox there, because that's for your oil pickup. Right, so let's whiz these off.
Out of way. So the earlier ones have a lock tab on the oil pickup on the back. This one hasn't, because it's an MPI. Leave that loose there. Put these on the bench.
Yeah, we're gonna have a bench full of parts soon.
The main thing is lay everything out when you've not done one before. just so you can lay everything out in order and just take your time.
Right, so let's get big nuts off.
Big nuts off. Well, remove the first motion input kit. We shall lay that out on the bench.
I mean, I've never done one of these boxes before, so this is a big learning curve for me as well. So I'm going along with you guys. Let's see what we need to do a gearbox on a minute at home. That's what it's all about.
Fun bit is getting the main shaft out without getting the synchro ball links everywhere when you've not done one before. I've been guilty of doing that in the past. We might have to put a big bar on that one.
RIP headphone users.
I think we'll put a big bar on that.
Big bar on that one.
A teeth off the gearbox.
Right, I'm going to pause for a minute while we get set up, I think, with Alex's big bar.
Put that through there.
Right, so this is probably not, you know, I don't know, the most recommended way of doing things, but it is one way you can do it. I've seen people put the gearboxes under cars before and stuff like that to just try and get this big nut off.
Put them under a ramp before I've done that.
Yeah.
Once I get it loosened, I'd rather do this than break any teeth off.
Yeah. She's a tight one. There she goes.
She's gone. So we'll finish that off on the bench now.
Yep. Just a quick tip there.
It's a 6-inch pry bar.
You can never have too big a bar.
So I'm hitting at it all day, but it's a lot of stress on the teeth. Right. And out. Get that there. And take the pinion off. So diff pinion. Lay that the right way. Everything wears together.
Yeah, don't want to get things back to front and the wrong way around.
We'll take the bearing retainer off next. Then look at getting this lay shaft out, which is just held in with a plate that goes in with a bearing retainer and just drops into a slot that just down there.
Okay.
Can be a bit tight, but
you can see it look a bit better there.
Yep, so it's dropped, and then that shaft there will slide out of that side of the gearbox.
Right, so it's going to go that way. Okay. We'll get those unbolted and come back in a second.
You want to put that retainer back?
Okay, so yeah, I can do. There's a little retainer that just holds the lathe shaft in. Focus.
So this, it goes through with a. So this bonnie is the idler for the reverse gear, and then you've got the lay shaft as it's known. It just slides in between those two. This one's pretty easy. Some of them in the past I've had to knock out. So that was lots in, that stops them coming out. So you slide that out, then you can push the lay shaft through the gearbox and out that side.
There you go.
That's got some wear in it. So it's just starting to, not too bad, but it's just starting to wear a little bit there.
Reusable?
We've got a new one.
Got a new one anyway?
Yeah, it comes in the kit from spares. There's no point for what they cost.
Great. Okay, so there is a shim as well that goes around there. So we've laid it out on the bench, so that will cause shim just there. So make sure it goes on the right way around. You don't forget to put it back in again.
You need to gap it out for the pressure on the bearing. So we'll show later on.
Sure, to do that later on.
But to be honest with it, Mr. Guest, John Guest, if Guest Works, does some very good videos on gearboxes.
He does, yeah. He's the man in the know, really, Mr. Guest. So
yeah, well,
check out his videos as well. Because we watch his videos, and that's how we've learnt to do these.
That and baptism, and the first one I did was a jackknife 5-speed, which
You can't really get more complicated than that, can you?
took me a bit of learning.
Yeah. When you touch on a 5-speed gearbox, which is pretty rare in itself. Right, so
That's the lay shaft. Then next one is we're going to remove a big circlip on this end, and then drive that out, and also there's another bearing here which we have a tool that drops in and allows us to push that out.
okay. So we need, is it a special tool that, or is it just a big hammer?
No, special tool.
Oh.
If you see steel punches being used for this, you really should be using brass punches, but we're using what we've got.
Yeah.
So don't burn me.
Yeah, so let's get the rest of it out and get it
Definitely
cleaned up.
advise getting a decent set of circlip pliers for this. So I've done it with pliers in the past and it's an absolute pain.
Wiggle, wiggle.
Oh, yeah.
That is a big circlip.
Quite tight.
Come on.
That's it. That comes out of there.
It's when it goes out, oh, the little ones that just ping off and you never find them again.
That's the ball bearings and the synchros.
We'll find out in a minute.
We'll pop them back. We'll reset the gears back to neutral. So just less chance of knocking and flying. So just need to start drifting things out.
Hitting.
Drifting boy. I'm not beating it to death, it's just nice steady strokes on it. A tiny bit of spin on that as well, I think. But
Where the bearing's been spinning in the housing.
just a touch. We've got some Loctite bearing retainer, which is brilliant, but you ought to be careful with it because
You don't want to put too much on it, do you?
no.
Because he'll never ever come out again.
Yeah. So now
So then you do have to start using a bit of fire.
you do have to use fire if there's too much on. A couple of specialist tools here.
You know, ask me how I know.
What is it with you and fire?
What's it mean things that I shouldn't be doing? Always do it, you know.
So I've got this tool which drops in there,
Okay.
which makes life a lot easier if you don't let it spin round.
Is this a special tool you can buy from?
This one came from John Guest, bought
Right,
it off
okay.
him at Stamford Hall the other year. He also does this one for putting the synchro ball bearings and springs back in.
Right.
If you do accidentally fire them around your garage.
When the hard part then is actually finding all your missing balls and springs and
Yeah, if you don't have spares.
yeah.
We have spares.
It's going.
Going off the bench as well.
There she goes.
What I've been careful of is not to, because this end's a bearing surface, is not to beat it to death. So it might look worse than it was, but I'm being wary of not beating this to death because there's a bearing that sits on there. You don't want to mushroom it. So if you're having to hit it really hard, you're going to be damaging things.
Right.
So that's where a brass drift and stuff would be better. So that, pretty much, allows us now to take everything out. That there, keep hold of everything.
Don't drop it.
And we'll take that apart on the bench so we don't lose anything. Also, one thing to check is these synchro, these selector forks can wear and get pretty thin. So you need to keep an eye, make sure they're all right.
I think I've actually seen these snap before.
Yeah, they can do.
Yeah.
If you're holding in gear while you're driving, it's this that you're putting wear on.
Yeah.
So holding the gear stick while driving is not a good idea.
Right.
Bearing
Okay.
surface.
So taking the synchro hub off
So I've
and
slidden that bearing surface off. So
Right.
I'll just take that synchro hub off. Which then you get to this collar here. There's a locking pin that you've got to retract and then just push it round. And that allows us to get the second gear off.
that tiny little pin in there. So
You don't always need to take it off, but I'm just going to check the bearings below and make sure that everything's nice in there.
Right, so you just got to try and flick that out with a...
I'm just using a pick to push that back. And then...
Fiddle local thing, isn't it?
Especially when your hands are covered in oil from doing a gearbox.
Yeah.
This is a Tourette's moment. Let me get a screwdriver.
I'm sure Mark's got a good bleeping system.
Quite low enough, that's it. That was gonna...
Right, we'll try and flick that pin out and come back to you when we're about to start stripping it off.
We'll be back.
Right, so you push the pin in and then turn the locking ring.
I've done it clockwise. As I look down it.
Just so the pin can get in line with...
Then it lines the keyways up. We're not quite there, but that'll come and then slide up.
And just slide up.
Yep.
Okay, okay. Right, we've finally got that gear off. That was a ball ache, but go on, Alex, explain what's going on.
Let people know. So this locking collar will go in any slot, but the problem you get is the spring pressure from the pins that you're forcing, and what it'll does is it actually pushes this collar, once it's lined up, back under and holds it. So you've got to just get it into the right position. It will come out, but all we're doing is we're just checking this bearing, which quite often not is fine on that bearing surface. That one's perfectly fine. It doesn't come in the rebuild kit, but it's worth just checking it. Split bearing.
So yeah, it's a bit of a fiddler thing to get that collar off with 2 spring-loaded pins.
There is also another one under here as well, which is a fun one.
I would imagine something else, but
anyway,
I think that's going to be fine.
We just wanted to check it just for peace of mind.
Yeah. So yeah, build that back up.
Put it back together.
Put it back together and carry on with the rest of the box. Right, so now we've finished off having a look at the bearings in that shaft. We've just taken out the oil strainer. It's the big old thing that's not going back in. And we're going to take out the selector forks.
Yeah.
Reverse idler.
Yeah, we'll take that out.
So
there's a bit of swarf down there we need to get rid of.
Yeah, so we need to get rid of it.
I believe it's been leaking out the bottom. So it just looks like this trace of oil has been leaking around there. So I just want to change that seal as well. But yeah, not everybody does, but
good practice, I suppose. So to get all that out, we need to take out that roll pin.
Yeah, knock that roll pin through and then
undo
just a
that.
knot, and then you have to beat it out. Up a little bit. She's come out on the selector a little tiny bit. Because it's brass, I'm just being careful with it because I don't want to break it.
We don't have another one of them.
I probably have actually. Tap it across. That's it.
There we go.
Slide that rod through there. A bit oily. Comes out. And that gasket. Put them back together. Back that way.
Don't lose your roll pin.
Yep. Preferably replace it. Preferably. We'll take that out. We'll undo this nut. Taking the right.
Here's your reverse idler.
That way around. Take that out and we'll give everything a damn good clean in the parts washer.
Yeah.
Get all the surfaces clean, so we'll be back in some time. Oh, hold on.
What have we found?
A lump of case there, I think, from the back when it
That's a good job the oil pump didn't suck that up.
Well, the oil pump's getting changed just in case.
How much are they about?
We're putting a turbo on, it's about £40, I think.
Yeah, not too bad really.
No, it's for what they cost, it's not worth not doing it.
Yeah. Right, let's get that cleaned up. Get ready to rebuild it. Right, so we've cleaned up the box the best we can. We've dressed up the damage that we found from the diff pin. All looks fine, ready to go back together now. Selector forks are back in. There's some little shims that are under there as well, so don't forget to put them back in. And yeah, you probably spend as much time actually cleaning things as you do actually stripping and rebuilding it. Yeah, because you don't want any bits of old sealant or swarf or anything getting back in the gearbox. It's only going to cause more trouble. Yeah, so I'll try and set you up on the tiles. If not, I'll just carry on like this and you'll see it all go back together again, bit by bit. Okie dokie.
Slowly but surely.
Slowly but surely. Okay, so they're back in, and now we are up to fitting new parts. So do you want to show us the new bolt rings that we've got?
These are the Mini Spares Evolution.
It's
a nice sharp. Right, this one's the old one.
Yep.
You see this is second gear. It's pre-worn actually, so I can see why it's probably not doing its job. So we'll fitting these up.
Those new ones actually a little bit wider.
Yeah, so I think
Ever so slightly.
I'd have to put a micrometer on to check that, to be honest with you.
But yeah, the old ones are worn out for sure.
We'll start putting this together. Get it right away. There we go.
You'll have to start going springing off and...
That'll be the first or last time.
Yeah.
Slides on. Get a new bolt ring. We'll try and do this one-handed now. Put that together. Grab a new bolt ring. We'll leave that for a moment. We'll take that new one with us and we can put this into the gearbox. Start thinking about putting some bearings in and measuring everything up. Hold that together. Put that in there.
Just leave it resting in there for a minute.
Yeah. So new double roller. Come with the retainer on it, so I need to swap that across. Wipe down one.
Bit of a clean.
Let's have a look, see if there's been any signs of any spinning. That doesn't look like it, but for the sake of safety's sake for myself.
Yeah, we don't want the outer casing of that bearing spinning in the casing of here, because then it'll just mangle everything up.
Some people probably not do this, but I've seen them where the case is worn out, so I just use a tiny bit of 638, but very, very sparingly, because you'll not get it apart again if you go daft with it. Literally. A few dots. That's as much as I'm going to use on that. Just stops it rotating. Oh, we're nearly. Nearly.
Lose your bits.
Too busy looking at other things. Let me just take that back out of. We'll take that out of the way. Not losing the bits, the problem, it's springing the selector across, so we end up with the ball bearings coming out. Schoolboy error.
We want to make sure those selectors in there actually line up with what you're putting back in.
So this, that one, third gear, third 4 selector was trying to escape us. Feels a bit tight. That's it, just got that.
Bit of a wiggle.
Just started. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the other new bearing on there and the 4th gear in. Get that started, just so we're not fighting each other.
Yeah. Okay, we'll get that back on and come back in a second.
Right.
So, first motion bearing.
Put a little bit
Of oil on it, ready to go back in. Was in there.
Make sure the bolt rings in and it's the right way around, because it's not fun putting them the other way around afterwards. Yep. It's there.
New bearing going on the end.
I have seen these spin in the past, so
Again, a little bit of Loctite. Doesn't go amiss.
And it's bearing retainer, not just thread Loctite. It's quite a high strength one, this one, so you have to be careful with it.
And how long have you had that stuff for?
Oh, this one, years.
Yeah, just a dab will do.
And don't do what I've seen people do. Store it in a Ziploc bag, because it'll no longer be Loctite.
You're just rock solid.
Yeah. That one's in pretty easy, so I'm glad I put a bit of Loctite on that.
You're just a big circle putting that on then.
Just going to tap it on, and the big circle.
On the foot.
Circuit when I've dropped everything. Taking my time.
Yeah. Lock it round evenly. Don't want it going off centre. Okay, so central oil pickup is in.
Bolting up there, yeah.
Just needs bolting up there, and the gaskets on that side. We've got the nut on that side, the lock tab on that side, all torqued up, tightened over, shims in, bolted up, and now we're just making sure it all goes in gear.
Make sure we get gears, which...
Gravity!
Didn't want that.
Yeah, that was on my foot. Yeah, so it's all going in quite nicely.
They can be quite stiff when you first put them together, but you shouldn't have to hit them with anything really.
Yeah.
I have had a bell crank that's been a pain before.
We've actually done this before just off camera and make sure everything goes in as well, but yeah, it's
There we go.
Going nicely. So after this now,
We're
putting the pickup in.
put that on and then look at the differential.
It's looking at the diff. So yeah, we're going to get that all, well, it's mostly cleaned up, but we need to build it up a little bit separately, and then we can stick it all in and then get it back on the car. So it's not been too bad, to be honest, has it?
No, we've got the idler as well to just put the bearings in and check the play on that.
On the speedo drive as well.
And mainly it's with the idler bearing. So you've got the primary, then the idler that drives it. You have to check the thrust on that.
Yeah.
But that's not a really big one. But you've got to do that out the car. So you end up putting the transfer case on, measure it, and then do it.
Yeah. Great stuff. Right. I'm going to pause it here for now and go and grab a beer, I think.
Right,